All right, guys, welcome back to another viewer suggested reaction video. Again, on the Netherlands, I have a lot of Dutch viewers. You guys are amazing. I love the Netherlands. So, anyways, we have right here how the Netherlands helped America gain independence, suggested by Marco. And it's actually quite funny because the guy from this channel actually just messaged me earlier, or commented. Actually, I did another reaction on his channel. He commented and was like congratulating me. He's like, "Hey man, thanks for the doing the reaction, this and that." And so he's excited about it. He's gonna be excited about this one also. So shout out to Geography Geek. Go check out their channel. Amazing content. Go give them a subscribe, like, and all that stuff. So um, without further ado, let me switch my screen over here, and we're gonna check this out together and see how the Netherlands helped America gain independence and how it cost them.
And John Smith once wrote, "Geography."
And if you guys are new to the channel, my name is Charlie. Nice to meet you. Nice to have you.
This isn't a history channel, but as
Okay.
English explorer Captain John Smith once wrote, "Geography without history seemeth a carcass without motion."
Okay.
But before I get into the story I'm about to tell, if you are new to the channel, welcome. On this channel, I talk about a variety of geography-related topics on whatever I'm interested in at the moment. I have quite a few history videos planned for this summer, such as What's Left of the Dutch in New York City, a lot of old map videos, and a
All
few
right.
on America's attempts at
What is
exterminating their
that?
wildlife. So if these are topics that interest you, a few on America's.
What kind? Okay. I see on the top. Wow, that's cattle heads, skulls. That's insane.
Attempts at exterminating their wildlife. So if these are topics that
Like
interest
the
you as
Paris
well, hit the
catacombs.
subscribe button and hit the bell if you want to get notifications on new uploads. Now let's go ahead and get started. If you know more than a little about the American Revolution, you know that France played an important role in America's victory for independence by providing money, men, and material. But there is
Yep.
another lesser known contributor to the United States victory, the Netherlands. Its official name at the time was the Republic of the Seven United Netherlands, also commonly known as the Dutch Republic.
That's
This is the
Republic. Okay.
predecessor state of modern-day Netherlands, though at the time this also included parts of modern-day Belgium. Now, the Netherlands wasn't officially an ally of the United States, nor did they support the United States with soldiers, both of which probably contributes to why they are often forgotten. Great Britain actually saw the Netherlands as an ally of theirs at the beginning of the Revolution, but the Netherlands officially declared themselves neutral in the war. What the Netherlands was more interested in than a US victory was making money, and they weren't too concerned with who they were making the money from, but by
Money.
the end of the
That
war,
works.
the United States and the Dutch Republic would have a common enemy. This is how the Dutch would support the war effort: trade. Before I go further,
Okay.
let me
Okay.
first provide some context. At the time of the American Revolution, though slowly declining in power by the 18th century, the Netherlands was a global leader in trade, controlling territories across the globe and a worldwide network of seafaring trade routes.
Yep.
Historians and economists debate on what exactly drove this small nation of only about 16,000 square miles or 42,000 square kilometers to become such a power.
And they are a power. I believe I seen in a video I was watching before that they are like the 18th biggest economy, I believe. And that's insane because I live in the state of Indiana here in the United States, right? And the Netherlands is like less than half the size of the state of Indiana. So just to put that size into perspective, the 18th biggest economy, mind blowing, guys. This is why we're on this learning journey. There's so much out there to learn, and there's no way I can learn it all.
But
But I'm gonna
historically,
try.
the Netherlands have accepted a high number of immigrants, which often brought with them skills and capital that could be reinvested. The country's inhabitants have also historically had a hard work ethic that emphasizes efficiency, which many historians say is rooted in its Calvinist past. But its rise to becoming a great seafaring nation is also rooted in the Netherlands' physical geography. This is a coastal country, lies extremely low in elevation, and is essentially one
Yeah.
giant river delta.
Um, Depending on the source, about a third, a quarter, or a half, like I said, depending on the source, is underwater. So anywhere from a quarter to half of the Netherlands, not underwater, below sea level. My apologies. And the rest of it's not much above it. I think the average above sea level that it is like maybe 3 meters. There's the higher points. I think the highest point elevation is roughly 300 some meters, and that's it.
Which has made it prone to flooding. I
Yeah.
actually made a whole video on how the Dutch have adapted to its geography. If you want to check that out, I've left a link in the comments below.
Yep.
Water and the terrain shaped by it
Check
is
it out,
why the
guys.
country rides bikes, grows tulips.
The tulips. I'm sorry. I don't mean to just keep going back, but that's just whoops.
Water and the terrain shaped by it is
It
why the
just
country
looks
rides
incredible.
bikes.
Look at that. I mean, how is that not incredible? We don't have that here. We have corn. We just have a lot of corn and beans, and that's about it. And trees
Grows tulips, and has hundreds of
and that
windmills. But water didn't
canals
just
and
shape culture within its mainland borders. The physical geography, combined with the aforementioned cultural characteristics of the Netherlands, turned the Dutch into expert and efficient shipbuilders, and motivated its population to seek trade opportunities across the globe. And one of those
and
places
they're good at
was
it.
the 13 colonies. Tensions began rising in the American colonies following the French and Indian War in 1763. The British launched a series of acts that raised taxes on the colonists in order to pay for the war, because the British felt that the colonists caused the war, so they should provide payment for the protection that Great Britain had
Okay.
provided. The colonists weren't happy about it. Protests erupted.
Wow, that is a violent scene, and maybe a bit racist. I mean, the only guy that's getting hurt is the black guy, so that's
That Great Britain had provided. The colonists weren't happy about it. Protests erupted, and in
what's
1770, British soldiers opened fire on a mob of angry colonists, killing at least 5 men and wounding several more, in what is known as the
bad.
Boston Massacre. Then in December of 1773, a band of Bostonians, dressed as Mohawk Indians, in protest on the taxation, boarded British
Yep,
ships
yep.
and dumped
Boston Tea
342
Party.
chests of tea into Boston Harbor. The event is known as the Boston Tea Party. The British Parliament responded with what the colonists referred to as the Intolerable Acts. This brought Massachusetts under full control of the British government and allowed British
They just eating raw fish.
Tolerable Acts. This brought Massachusetts under full control of the British government and allowed British
Oh,
loyalists in the colony
okay,
to be
it's
tried in Great Britain. George Washington called this the Murder Act because he said it allowed British officials to harass colonists and then flee to Great Britain to escape justice. The act also allowed British soldiers to be
oh,
housed wherever necessary, including private homes, though some historians say the act only meant unoccupied buildings. Great Britain had attempted to isolate extremists in Massachusetts with these acts, but it backfired, and other colonies pledged to support Massachusetts if there was an attack by the British. The colonists
okay.
prepared for war. The British, for obvious reasons, refused to sell arms and ammunition to the American colonists, and they banned other countries from doing so as well. In 1774, Britain declared the export of war materials to the colonies to be illegal, and therefore subject to search and seizure. And this is where the Dutch enter the picture, because the Dutch didn't care.
The Dutch.
Dutch
You guys are awesome. Shout out Dutch.
And this is where the Dutch enter the picture, because the Dutch didn't care. Dutch merchants continued to trade wherever and whenever possible.
They're gonna do what they
British
want.
Lieutenant Governor of New York warned London in November of 1774 that contraband between this place and Holland prevails to an enormous degree. Actions must be taken against the smugglers, but it would not be easy. The vessels from Holland or St. Eustatia do not come into this port, but in the numerous bays and creeks that our coasts and rivers furnish, on which the contraband is sent up through small boats. The British were furious that the Dutch continued to ignore the ban. They then made a strong request to the Netherlands to stop all war materials from being shipped to the American colonies. Penalties included confiscation of materials, large fines.
I wonder if this is why I've heard, I don't know if it's true. I've heard that the Dutch people or the Netherlands country, I don't know if it's the people of the country, either way, if it even matters, that they have kind of a not the greatest relationship with England or Britain. So I wonder if this doesn't have part of it. Like maybe this is the starting point of all that, and that's just why they have a shit relationship now. If they even do, I don't know. I'm not saying they do. Maybe I heard wrong. I don't know for sure, but drop it down in the comment section down below.
Shipped to the American colonies. Penalties included confiscation of materials, large fines, and the confiscation of ships if not paid. Conscious of not being able to go head-to-head with the British Navy, the British had 100 warships compared to the Netherlands' 11. The government of the Netherlands officially decided to comply. But the Dutch merchant class wasn't happy with their government's decision, and they just continued to ignore the British request. So the British then responded with more search and seizures around St. Eustatius, the hub for this arms and ammunition trade. Once the war had officially begun with the battles of Lexington and Concord in April of 1775, the Dutch ammunition trade to the Americans got so bad that King George III in January 1776 ordered more warships on duty around the Caribbean. He stated, "Every intelligence confirms that principally St. Eustatius, but also all the other islands, are to furnish the Americans with gunpowder this winter." But many of the Dutch traders continued to find ways to evade the British. More obstacles arose with the defeat of the Americans at Long Island, which left America completely without the ports of New York and later Philadelphia. Though the two largest ports were occupied by the British, the Dutch were again not a group to give up on this lucrative trade, and they continued smuggling through smaller ports and estuaries.
Persistent.
In 1776, the Dutch Republic made a half-hearted effort to comply with the continued requests from the British. They replaced St. Eustatius governor with a new man, named Johannes de Graaf. After the British complained that his predecessor was allowing merchants to continue to ship war materials to the Americans. But on the 16th of November, 1776, the American Navy ship USS Andrew Doria, with the American Declaration of Independence on board, arrived in St. Eustatius. Its captain fired a salute to the Dutch flag on Fort Orange, and the governor, Johannes de Graaf, decided to answer the salute with 11 gunshots. And so the United States of America were for the first time recognized as a nation by another. So now, not only were the Dutch preventing the Americans from running out of ammunition, allowing the revolution to continue, they had now recognized the British colony as a sovereign nation. On top of this, the Netherlands was actually supposed to have provided 6,000 troops to the British for the war, as was the terms of a past treaty.
So you guys jump-started us getting our independence. That is crazy. I never knew this. I live in America and I don't know most of my history here. That's why I'm on this journey, guys. I'm trying to learn about the world. You guys are learning as well. We're learning together. This is awesome.
In 6,000 troops to the British for the war, as was the terms of a past treaty. In 1778, when France was persuaded to join in the fight against the British, the Dutch traded with them as well. But with the French, they traded mostly naval stores. The French needed supplies for their naval construction, but were unable to obtain them themselves due to the blockade of the Royal Navy. So they turned to the Dutch, who were privileged by a concession obtained after their victory in the Second Anglo-Dutch War, known as the principle of free ship, free goods, which was enshrined in the Anglo-Dutch Commercial Treaty of 1668. According to the treaty, naval stores were not considered contraband, as long as the Dutch remained neutral, which the Dutch claimed they were. But of course, the British just declared naval stores illegal and started arresting Dutch ships. And as always, Dutch merchants continued to evade the British. The Dutch-British relationship became more hostile on the 31st of December 1779 when the two countries had a brief naval engagement. The British wished to inspect Dutch ships for what they considered contraband destined for France. The Dutch initially refused and threatened the British with force, before finally backing down. The event caused the Dutch to pursue joining the League of Armed Neutrality, which was an alliance of European naval powers, which was intended to protect neutral shipping.
League of what? Our neutrality, is that what he said?
Before finally backing down. The event caused the Dutch to pursue joining the League of Armed Neutrality, which was an alliance of European naval powers, which was intended to protect neutral shipping against the Royal Navy's wartime policy of unlimited searches. The British government saw this move as a threat, and it could potentially embroil Great Britain in a war with its other members, Russia, Sweden, and Denmark-Norway. They had finally had enough. Great Britain officially declared war on the Dutch Republic, and they began attacking their former allies' colonial economic interests, including St. Eustatius, in what was known as the Fourth Anglo-Dutch War. One head-to-head naval battle did take place, the Battle of Dogger Bank. Both sides took hundreds of
Dogger Bank. Doggertown, is that the part that's in the middle of the Netherlands that was like used to be the ocean or whatever, right? And it turned into a saltwater sea because they dammed it off, and then part of it was reclaimed into land. Is that called Doggerland, right? Is that
naval battle did take place, the Battle of Dogger Bank.
Dogger
Both
Bank?
sides took hundreds of casualties. Tactically, the battle was a draw, but it was a strategic victory for the British. The Dutch did not have the naval strength to continue going head-to-head with the British. This allowed the British to continue their oppression against the Dutch merchants. Though the Dutch colonial empire had already been slowly declining, this settled it, and cemented Great Britain as the new leading commercial power. Though the Netherlands' economic self-interests were a large motivator for the support of the American Revolution, Dutch citizens, probably more so than the Dutch government, became more sympathetic to the American cause as the war progressed. Both countries were being bullied by the
Right.
same global power, and some sympathy may have come from the Netherlands having fought for their own independence in the 16th and 17th centuries. Whatever the motivation was, the United States will always be grateful for their support. Historian
Nice.
Barbara Tuchman claims that it's possible
I didn't know this, guy. You guys are awesome. Thank you, Marco, for sending this video.
the United States will always be grateful for their support. Historian Barbara Tuchman claims that it's possible that the American Revolution would not have survived without the Dutch ignoring the ban on war materials and successfully
Wow.
evading the British. On February 27, 1939, President
Nice.
Franklin D. Roosevelt presented a plaque to St. Eustatius. Mounted on the flagpole inside Fort Orange, it reads, "In
So,
commemoration of the salute to the flag of the United States, fired in this fort on 16 November 1776, by order of Johannes de Graaf, Governor of St. Eustatius, in reply to a national gun salute fired by the U.S. brig of war Andrew Doria. Here, the sovereignty of the United States was first formally acknowledged to a national vessel by a foreign official." If you enjoyed this video, please
nice,
hit the
nice,
like
nice.
button and subscribe for more geography videos. Thank you for watching.
Go to the original video, hit like and hit subscribe on that as well, okay? Shout out to Geography Geek. They have amazing videos. I don't want to cut it off too soon here. Got this music on. Anyways, I have a music reaction channel. Link will be in the description section down below, or on my channel page. So go check that out if you're into music. Show some support. If you want a priority request, just make sure when you donate to the channel that you send a link. And try to limit it to maybe 20 minutes or less. Sometimes I don't have time to do super long videos. So, yeah, take care, guys. I will see you in the next one.